Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
From the very beginning, I learned what it meant to stand on the edge of my own family. Philippa was the golden daughter. Every hairstyle, every dress she wore was praised as if she were royalty. Capra was the heir, the clever son who could do no wrong. And me? I was the shadow. If I came home with awards, my parents glanced briefly before returning to Philippa's latest story. If I had a bad day, Capra's jokes drowned out my silence. Even after I built a life of my own, after the endless nights of study, the years of struggle, and finally earning my place as a respected dentist, nothing changed. To them, I wasn't Darcey, the daughter who made something of herself. I was just useful, a walking wallet. Darcey, my father said one evening, his voice casual as if he were asking me to pass the salt. Your brother's car broke down. You'll cover the repairs, won't you? He can't possibly manage it with his salary. I remember clutching my coffee cup, the porcelain trembling in my hands. Dad, I've been paying their bills for months. Doesn't anyone see how hard I work? Philippa's laugh sliced through the room. Oh, come on, Darcey. You're the dentist. You've got money. What else is it for, if not family? Her words stung more than I let show. What else was it for? For raising my daughter alone, for building a future where I didn't constantly feel like an outsider. But every protest of mine dissolved into their indifference. The cruelest part wasn't even the money, it was the way they looked right through me. At family dinners, they spoke in fast, excited voices about each other's lives. Philippa's shopping, Capra's little victories. I could have disappeared from the table, and I doubt they would have noticed. Once, late at night, I sat by the kitchen window, tears slipping soundlessly down my cheeks. I had given them everything, time, energy, money, and yet, no matter what I did, I was never enough. And still, a voice whispered inside me, how long will you let them take before you finally break? I didn't know then that the answer was waiting, closer than I imagined. If I had been invisible in my parents' eyes, my daughter Sarah was something worse. A target. She was only 9, a child who loved books more than gossip, questions more than shallow chatter. She lived in a world of stories and dreams, and for that they called her strange. She's always got her nose in some book, my mother sneered once, slapping a plate of food on the table. No wonder she doesn't know how to talk like normal people. Useless little leech. I felt Sarah's small hand clutch mine under the table, her eyes wide, wounded but silent. She never defended herself, because she knew it was pointless. Meanwhile, Hugo, Philippa's precious son, was hailed as the clever boy, the joker of the family. In truth, he was cruel. He pulled Sarah's hair, hid her notebooks, and tricked her when no one was watching, and when she cried, he twisted his smirk into innocence and said, Auntie, it wasn't me. Sarah started it. And everyone believed him. Always. One afternoon, I walked into the living room to see Sarah crouched by the wall, tears streaking her face. Hugo stood proudly in the center, holding her torn sketchbook. What happened here? I demanded. She ripped it herself. Hugo blurted, eyes wide with mock sincerity. Philippa rushed in, pulling her son protectively to her side. Darcey, control your daughter. She's always causing problems. I knelt beside Sarah, brushing damp hair from her forehead. Is that true, sweetheart? Her lips trembled, but she whispered, No, Mama. I didn't. That night, when she fell asleep, I sat by her bed and wept. She was living my childhood all over again, dismissed, unheard, punished for telling the truth. I promised myself I would protect her, but deep down, I feared I was already too late. I will never forgive myself for being late that night. My mother's birthday, a grand feast spread across the table, and I was stuck at the clinic, extracting a tooth from a patient in agony. Sarah had begged me not to leave her there, but I had whispered, Be brave for me, darling. I'll be back soon. By the time I arrived, the damage was done. The story unraveled later through whispers and Sarah's tearful eyes. While the guests laughed and toasted, Hugo crept to the roasted turkey, without permission tearing off both legs with greasy hands. He devoured them in silence, then leaned back smugly and declared, Sarah without permission ate them. The room turned on my daughter. My mother, without hesitation, snatched an old white t-shirt, scribbled the word BLOODSUCKER in thick marker, and forced it over Sarah's head. They sat her at the table like a criminal, laughing, pointing. Instead of cake and roast, she was handed a plate with a raw, bloody piece of meat. Philippa clapped her hands, laughing. See, now she can feed on what she really deserves. I can only imagine Sarah's small body shaking, her lips quivering as the adults mocked her. And then came the final cruelty. Hugo, emboldened by their laughter, lifted a heavy wine glass and struck her on the head. The sound of shattering glass. Sarah's cry. Blood pouring down her temple. And still, they comforted him. When I finally arrived at the hospital, my daughter lay with stitches on her fragile skin, whispering through sobs, "Mama, I didn't do it. I swear." I cradled her, tears burning down my cheeks. "I know, baby, I know. And they will never hurt you again." That night, something inside me broke and hardened into steel. The sight of Sarah lying in that hospital bed shattered every last thread of patience I had. Her head was wrapped in bandages, her lashes sticky with tears. I sat beside her, holding her hand, my heart breaking as she whispered, "Mama, why do they hate me so much?" I kissed her forehead, fighting back sobs. "They don't matter anymore, sweetheart. I promise you, I won't let them touch you again." The next morning, I gathered every medical record, every photograph of her injuries. I needed proof, solid, undeniable proof. For years I had endured their cruelty, but now it was my daughter bleeding. Enough was enough. When I stopped the financial transfers to my parents and siblings, the storm came instantly. Philippa called first, her voice sharp as glass. "Darcey, are you out of your mind? The bills, mother and father, how will they manage?" "Manage on their own," I snapped. "I'm done funding people who abuse my child." "You're ungrateful," she spat. "After all they've done for us." I laughed bitterly. "All they've done?" "Philippa, they mocked a child while she bled. And you dare call that love?" Capper showed up at my door that evening, fists clenched. "You're destroying this family? You think you're some kind of hero?" I stood firm, though my knees trembled. "No. I'm just a mother protecting her daughter, something none of you seemed willing to do." Their outrage only fueled my resolve. I walked into the social services office with the thick folder of evidence clutched in my hands. My voice shook, but I laid everything bare. The bullying, the humiliation, the violence. For the first time, the truth wasn't swallowed by their lies. It was written, stamped, undeniable. As I left the building, the weight on my chest lifted. For years, I had been their wallet, their scapegoat. But now, I was something else entirely, a shield for my daughter. And they would learn what it meant to lose the one person they thought they could control forever. The investigation cut through their arrogance like a blade. Social workers arrived with stern faces and notebooks, and for once my family couldn't hide behind their rehearsed lies. The photographs of Sarah's injuries spoke louder than their excuses. Philippa screamed when the fines were announced, parenting classes, records that would stain her perfect reputation. Capper cursed under his breath, while my parents sat pale and trembling as officials warned them that supervision would follow. When we left the courthouse, Philippa lunged at me, eyes blazing. "You've ruined us, Darcey." I met her fury with calm. "No, you ruined yourselves the day you chose to protect Hugo instead of my daughter." Later at home, Sarah curled against me on the sofa, her stitches healing, her eyes brighter than I'd seen in months. "Mama," she whispered, "they know the truth now, don't they?" Tears blurred my vision as I kissed her hair. "Yes, my love, they can never take your truth away again." That night, as we laughed over a simple dinner, I felt it, the weight lifting. For the first time in my life, I was no longer their scapegoat. I was free. And so was she.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.